Just remember where you can get the latest local and international motorsport news. In today's program, we bring you highlights from the year that was in Total Super Series 97. Specifically, we look at how the season went in the special vehicle category, the junior motorcycles, the super quads, and the 200cc motorbikes.
The long course off-road fraternity gathered en masse for the first round of the year for the super special vehicle category at AA Kyalami, and the quality of the racing held much promise for the rest of the season. These vehicles are all home-built, with a variety of space frame chassis designs and engines, and the short course format of Total Super Series led to some great scraps throughout the field. Jackie Joubert on his Jojo Tanks VW Beetle started his Total Super Series season on a high note, taking the victory from Bucks Carolyn and defending champion Wolf-Peter Fumfai. Round 2 at Talton International Raceway outside Krugersdorp saw a newcomer to the top 3. Joe Smith in his Chenoweth didn't expect to do quite as well, but although he was hard pushed by Joubert and Bucks Carolyn in his Newman-Haas Chenoweth and had to deal with a leaking oil seal, he held out under the pressure. Some good fights further down the field once again provided great entertainment for the crowd. So, Smith took it from Carolyn and Joubert, while defending champion Fumfai had to deal with some mechanical problems and could only finish 8th. It was a delighted Smith who spoke to us afterwards.
Joe, tremendous race. That was spectacular stuff.
Thanks. I loved it. It's the first one I've done. I saw the smoke just pouring out of here, but I just wanted to finish and just that, so I've done what I wanted to do.
Back to AA Kyalami for round 3, and by now the field started dwindling and much fewer competitors turned up for the race. Bucks Carolyn in his lubrication equipment Chenoweth had found the cause of the electrical problems he'd been experiencing before, and he and Jackie Joubert in the Jojo Tanks VW Beetle pulled away from the rest of the field with not much competition from the others. Carolyn pulled away, helped along by a problem with the wheel of the Jojo Tanks machine. Joubert couldn't complete the race. Wolf-Peter Fumfai was continuing with his style of consistent finishes. The defending champion is WPP Sturmberger, only experiencing the one glitch in the previous round. Only 3 competitors were classified as finishers, mechanical problems taking care of the rest of the small field. Carolyn from Fumfai and Max Moore. Round 4 of Total Super Series 97 was also held at AA Kyalami, and the field was much larger than during the previous round. The pattern of the last few events was upset when Carolyn once again experienced an electrical problem, leaving some different names to fight things out at the front of the field. Spectator action was the order of the day, but Carolyn made a remarkable comeback in the race as he proceeded to catch and pass them all, underlying the superiority of driver and machine. Unfortunately, round 1 winner, Jackie Joubert, once again wasn't classified, again due to mechanical failures. Carolyn was exerting pressure in the championship, and he was becoming the favourite for the title. Moore had a good race, and the first top 3 placing for Ericsson.
Ek sê jy moet terugkyk na die seisoen, hoe dit vir jou verloop.
Hendrik, baie lekker gewees. Weer die short course is baie lekker. Is lekker, baie kompeterend. Maar die ander was ook lekker gewees, die klip events en so aan. Ek nou nie hierdie jaar baie nationals doen nie. Die klip en die regionals is my lekkerder as die nationals. Dit is ook baie korter. Jy hoef nie 'n hele naweek af te vat nie. Maar short course ook baie lekker.
Total Super Series 97 het vir julle kleinvelde eintlik in die algemeen gesien.
Ja, dit is basies die probleem wat ons gehad het met die Super Series, die Super Special basis. En natuurlik die stadiumtrokke ook. Ons soek nog stadiumtrokke en ons soek meer mense om belang te stel om hulle kar hier te kom reis as 'n Super Special. Die mense het eers gesê dat dit is 'n karbreker. Maar as jy 'n karbreker het, as jou kar wil breek en jy vinnig ry, dan kan jy enige kar breek. Die karre is ingestel vir, my kar is basies ingestel vir short course en vir off-road. En hy het nog nie gebreek nie. Nog nie een keer hierdie hele jaar nie.
Round 5 at Talton International saw Fumfai taking the win and moving into 2nd position in the championship, while points leader Carolyn wasn't classified. Klaassen and Joubert had good results. back to AA Kyalami and round 6. The championship positions pretty much settled with 1 round to go. Carolyn was leading Fumfai, and it seemed like nothing and nobody would stop Carolyn from another emphatic victory. Behind Carolyn, an almighty scrap developed between Jackie Joubert in the Jojo Tanks VW Beetle and Tom Smith in his Mighty Mag. Smith was all over Joubert, and once he got past, he had his sights set on Carolyn in the lead. Smith, whose brother Joe won in round 2 at Tarleton, was causing Carolyn all sorts of problems. Another upset result was in the offing, and when Smith got past Carolyn, everything was set for an exciting finish. Unfortunately, Warren Klaasen rolled his car and the race had to be stopped. The driver wasn't seriously injured, but Smith took the victory ahead of Carolyn and Joubert. The final round at AA Kyalami, and with an unassailable lead in the championship, Bucks Carolyn in the lubrication equipment Chenoweth stamped his authority in the super special category. It was a deserving title for undoubtedly the best driver-car combination of the year. Carolyn took it from the very consistent defending champion, Wolf Peter Fumfai.
Bucks, what are your thoughts about the past season?
Past season's been very exciting. I think we need to do something about the points. You know, the point system seems if you don't finish a race, you're out of the event, and so maybe the points need to be changed. But the formula works fantastically, and I'd just love to see more guys building cars. It is inexpensive. I don't know why we haven't got more guys coming, but I've heard there's 3 cars being built for next year, and it's going to make it more exciting. The more cars on it, it makes it more spectacular.
And round 1 of the 200cc motorcycle category, which was instituted as a separate category in Total Super Series for the first time in 1997. Freddie Ferree on his Elna Fox Kawasaki made his title aspirations known from early on, but he was up against some spirited opposition who were going to make it as difficult for him as possible. The very fast AA Kyalami circuit made racing on the edge extremely hazardous, as a number of riders would find out during the course of the season. And finally today, the Super Quad category, the one category of Total Super Series 97 that showed consistent growth. Standard 200cc machines, all the riders on Yamaha Banshees, a formula for close racing throughout the year. Evan Hutchison set the scene at round 1 at AA Kyalami by winning overall, ahead of Chris Jarvis, Clint Buckham, Ricardo Giannocaro, Derek Robertson and Aubrey Kavanagh. At round 2 at Tarleton International Raceway, the quality of the racing was a sign of things to come, as Clint Buckham took the early lead. Evan Hutchison and Glenn Wilmot were hounding him, as was the rest of the field. That little mistake cost Buckham the lead as Hutchison pounced, Glenn Wilmot and Ricardo Giannocaro also staying close to the action. 4 wheels beneath you don't always guarantee that you'll stay upright, but the control displayed by the leader, Hutchison, negated any small mistakes. With Hutchison on his Line X Yamaha clearing off into the distance, Buckham was coming under increasing pressure from Giannocaro. Hutchison was continuing where he left off at AA Kyalami and allowed the rest of the field to fight it out amongst themselves behind him. Buckham was still being hounded, but this time by Wilmot, who got past Giannocaro. But Hutchison couldn't afford to relax for a moment, because as the race progressed, Giannocaro established himself in second position and had his sights firmly set on the leader. Did we say on the edge racing? Well, it doesn't come much closer to the edge than this. The top 4 were never very far apart during the race, and the slightest mistake would have had an impact on the outcome. But the others had to get past Evan Hutchison, and his smooth but very fast racing style stood him in good stead. With such equal machinery, it's tuning, setup and racecraft that makes the difference. Hutchison took his second full house of points for the season, beating Giannocaro, Buckham and Wilmot in the process. But it wasn't as easy as it looked from the outside.
Evan, that seemed to be a walk in the park.
Not quite, eh? The start was a little bit difficult. We didn't get straight to the front at the start, and the track's changed a lot since we practiced with all the cars going through, so it was a bit of an unknown factor going around the first time, but once we got our rhythm going, it was going well. The team's bike is flying, really. Linux has done a fantastic job.
Round 3 at AA Kyalami, and the question was, could Evan Hutchison continue on his merry way, or has someone found a way to beat him? Well, the Line X Yamaha rider had to overcome a bad start, but after that, he was untouchable. Some incidents down the field only served to show how far the rest of the field had fallen behind the man in absolute dominating form. Brandon Martin finished second, ahead of Clayton Duplessis, Ricardo Gianlucaro, Chris Jarvis and Aubrey Kavanagh. Hutchison seemed totally unbeatable. AA Kyalami again, and round 4 of the championship. By now, a new star had begun emerging, hailed as probably the only rider able to put an end to Hutchison's domination. Jacques Struik on the Jojo Tanks machine had decided to tackle the Super Quad category in addition to his exploits in the Pro Quad class. And with his trademark triangular flag at the back of his Yamaha Banshee, he was a thorn in the side of the regular competitors. Struik promptly finished second behind Hutchison, but the warning bells had been tolled. Duplessis ended up in third ahead of Martin, Gianlucaro and Wilmot. Round 5 was at Tarleton again, and all eyes were on the expected battle between championship leader Evan Hutchison on the Lynex Yamaha Banshee and Jacques Struik on the Jojo Tanks machine. Unfortunately, Struik had a bad start, and he took a long time to move past the likes of Gianlucaro and Robertson, by which time Hutchison had already opened up a substantial lead. But Struik had one strength, his fitness, having to ride in 6 races altogether at each race meeting. Hutchison extended his championship lead, but Struik was becoming a force to be reckoned with. Second in the championship was Ricardo Gianlucaro, and this factor would come into play at round 7. The final round at AA Kyalami, and the familiar sight of Evan Hutchison on the Lynex Yamaha in the lead. But that wouldn't last, as a blown motor took him out of the reckoning early in the race. This would prove fatal to his championship chances, as it was found that the rules didn't allow him the luxury of competing on another bike for the rest of the day, so Hutchison didn't score a single point. While the race meeting carried on with frantic action on the track, even more frantic discussions went on behind the scenes. But in the end, it was decided that Hutchison would not score any points for the day, which allowed Ricardo Gianlucaro through to take the title for 1997. With his consistent results throughout the season, he was well placed to take advantage of Hutchison's misfortune, winning by 28 points from the man who won 18 out of 21 races this season.
Well, that certainly was